Our story begins in the summer of 2020, right in the middle of the COVID pandemic. One day, I saw a video showing off a small application called FNAF Maker. I was a big fan of FNAF at the time, and I've always dreamed of making my own fan game. Now that I knew FNAF Maker existed, my dreams could come true. Except, I didn't know what I was doing, and FNAF Maker was extremely scuffed. By the time I figured that out, I had already published a game page called Five Nights of Bloodtime. Being an idiot 13-year-old, I didn't know what to do. I couldn't find any good tutorials online for FNAF Maker, so I eventually gave up, canceling Five Nights of Bloodtime. I tried again with another game called Five Nights at Jack O'Freddy's, but that also didn't go anywhere for the exact same reasons. So, I gave up. A few weeks have passed, and one day, I randomly get a comment on the original Bloodtime game page. I hadn't deleted it for some reason. It was a link to another Game Jolt game. When I clicked it, I was surprised to see that my game, Five Nights of Bloodtime, had been completed into an actual game. This person, known as SBL Studios at the time, was responsible for this. I asked him why he did it, and he said, I quote, I don't know. With that, our fates were sealed, and now Bloodtime has become an important figure in our lives. Not really, but he was still important enough to where we're still doing content with him 4 years later. During his earlier years, from late 2020 to early 2021, Bloodtime actually had a small following, thanks to SBL Studios already having a small fan base. 4 Bloodtime games were made during this time, all of which were terrible, and most of it becoming lost media. Going a bit of a detour here. Since 2019, I was obsessed with doing FNAF roleplays. I usually played this one game, Animatronic World. At some point, I switched to Arctic's FNAF roleplay. This is important because in November of 2020, I started a Roblox roleplay based on the character of Bloodtime. It was in collaboration with the game creator, SBL Studios. Together, we made 15 episodes of the Five Nights of Bloodtime RP. Around the same time, SBL started making his own Roblox FNAF RP, simply called FNAF 2 RP. Then, I made the weird decision on making the two series exist in the same universe, for no real reason. Little did we know, but that was the start of what would later become the Voltage Cinematic Universe. It didn't last long. The FNAF 2 RP was never fully finished because I got into a petty and stupid argument with SPL. It was so petty and stupid that it's not even worth mentioning. Regardless, this argument changed some things between us. Now, SPL was forbidden to make any more Bloodtime content, and I was backing out of the FNAF 2 RP. This pretty much killed the series, or as we called it, the Team Black Bear Cinematic Universe. Now that the TBCU was dead, we just continued with our lives. For a long while, nothing remotely interesting was done with our characters. After our argument, SBL would later go on to rebrand himself as Poor Cephistem, but he continued to make FNAF fan games with shitty FNAF Maker engines. He would go on to make his own series now that he couldn't make Bloodtime games, calling it The Anarchy of Red Bear. It was essentially a better version of Bloodtime. Since I couldn't make games, Bloodtime pretty much sat abandoned. For like a year at least. In February of 2022, Poor and I were inspired to restart the TPCU. I say restart, but it was more like picking up where we last left off, which was the unfinished ending of the FNAF 2 RP. After some work, Poor created the Anarchy of Red Bear roleplay. It was a continuation of the FNAF 2 RP without it actually being a continuation of the original series. It was also being made in Gary's mod, which was a great decision on our parts. Around this time, I was creating my own FNAF AU called the RPverse. I had planned on using Bloodtime in my series, giving him his own movie, which was essentially a reboot/remake of the original Roblox Bloodtime roleplay. I eventually released that version, but now that the TPCU was back as the PSCU, Poor System Cinematic Universe, Poor wanted to remake the original Bloodtime RP series in Gmod, even though I had technically already done that. Regardless, I permitted him to recreate the original series to better fit the PSCU. So, Bloodtime Origins was created. I won't lie, the era of the PSCU was a complete mess. First, we introduced the concept of seasons into the PSCU. Season 1 would include the Bloodtime Origins series, plus a remake of the FNAF 2 RP. Season 2 only had the Red Bear roleplay. This was a mess because we would be working on multiple seasons simultaneously. Poor then created Season 3, an origin-based season focused on telling certain characters' origins. I then created a document meant to outline each project we had planned for each season of the PSCU. Of course, there were the first 3 seasons, but then, for some stupid-ass reason, I pushed for the agenda of making the PSCU longer than needed. Honestly, the PSCU should have only stayed around for 3 or 4 seasons, but instead, I pushed it for 6 seasons. We were trying our hardest to make the PSCU not a complicated mess of multiple series going on at once. It got to the point where I didn't want to work on it anymore. Along with a few personal reasons that I won't explain, I decided to drop out of the VTCU around October of 2023. This was a bad idea because I had now left everything in the hands of Poor, who rebranded again and was now named Voltan. The PSCU was also renamed to its current title, the Voltage Cinematic Universe, or VTCU. Voltan was already taking a break from working on the VTCU, having found sudden success from doing a 100 days video in Roblox 3008. That video went absolutely viral for no reason, and because of it, he started neglecting the VTCU. In fact, by December of 2023, Voltan was ready to abandon the VTCU entirely and go in a different direction with his channel. At that point, his version of Bloodtime Origins was left unfinished. Taking the initiative, I decided to continue and finish the Bloodtime Origins series. That was pretty much it. I was sad that my series did not come to a full conclusion, so I asked Voltan if I could finish Bloodtime Origins, and he said sure. But then I started to think about the VTCU overall. You know, it was one big massive mess with very little continuity, multiple projects being worked on at once, and just being terrible in general. So then I said the magic words. Okay, so it didn't exactly go down like that, but you get the point. Now that I was the only one working on the VTCU, I decided to flip the reset switch. Because of how disconnected and all over the place Voltan's VTCU was, I decided it would be better to restart the VTCU from the beginning of Season 1. And that's what I did. Here we are, in the year of 2025. It has been over a year since I gained control over the VTCU and rebooted it. Things have been going relatively steady so far, if we ignore the 5-month gap between the uploads of Bloodtime Origins Volume 3 and Five Nights at Freddy's 2 Nightmare Begins. Yeah, I hit a few rough patches here and there. I kinda overworked myself during the summer to get Five Nights at Onions and Bloodtime Origins Volume 3 out on release. I got really burnt out from it, which caused me to stop working on FNAF 2 for a long time. But now, FNAF 2 has released, and as of recording, it's doing decently well, according to my standards as a small creator. So, now that FNAF 2 is finished, I can get back to work on completing the rest of VTCU Season 1, right? Well, actually, I wanted to take a break from working on the VTCU. I have other projects that I've been meaning to work on, and I have a lot more free time to work on those instead of the VTCU. don't worry, I'll still work on the series in the background. Just don't expect the next installment for a short while. Before I end this video, I just wanted to mention that I'll be trying out a new upload schedule. 2 videos a month. I don't know how long that will last, but hey, it's worth a shot. One more thing. Thank you for your support on the VTCU and my channel overall. It's one of the few things keeping me from outright abandoning the channel. YouTube is my passion project and I'm desperately trying to get it to work. So, again, thank you for the support. Later.